And I'd said that there are pearls along the way. And these pearls stretch from West Sutton on down to Tolland. And I found in each town there can be several, and we'll zoom in on the ones here in Eastford in a moment. And the path connects them. These pearls are places that you can go to and visit now. And you have some sense of that wilderness that was traveled through by those going down to Connecticut, and some of the artifacts of their travel or the settlement of those. It's interesting, the folks who went down to Connecticut, they went down and then their grandchildren and great-grandchildren kept coming back this way to settle after the King Philip's War. Now, from Crystal Pond, the path does a curve around across Mule Orchard and out to the Bigelow Brook, which should be a river. But goes to across Eastford. And let's zoom down because I want to show you, I think you're probably most familiar with Crystal Pond because it's beautiful. I do want to say that you didn't see it on Ellen Larned's map, but there was big controversy that one of my relatives caused, Nathaniel Woodard. In 1642, he went through the south part of Eastford with a survey party with Solomon Safrey. They surveyed the Massachusetts-Connecticut border. He set the boundary where they said it, about half of Crystal Pond would be in Massachusetts now. So, I don't know whether that'd be a good thing. I don't know whether you folks would want to be in Massachusetts. Maybe the folks in North Ashford up here would have something to say about that. But in going down across here, I'm going to try and really show you a couple of things that you might want to go out and check that are right here in an area that maybe you haven't paid attention to, you might have driven by. And I want to warn you right now, I'm going to go kind of quick, but if you go to the website, you can actually come along with me as I take the camera. But if you go to the website, I've done, I think, 3 videos that you can go and you can come along with me on the walk. And part of my doing this in this way is to capture what is it like. And hopefully, once you see it, you'll say, well, I might like to go and do that for real. And going to the future, it'd be something that, 100 years from now, when they look at these old archives and they say, what was he doing out there? They say, oh yeah, boy, it looked kind of nice then. What happened? I hope they don't say that. Well, Walker Road leads up off of Westford Road. In Westford, it's Eastford Road. In Eastford, it's Westford Road, but you know where it is. It's just beyond Cozy Road. And Steve discovered in his research that it's actually a road that's not a town road, but the state still holds a right-of-way for passage, which is nice to know. You don't want to be walking through, I try not to walk through people's yards. It's not very nice to wave to people as they're having their dinner and say, oh, I'm passing through. Or is this the way to Yale Forest, or something like that. But one of the things that you'd see up there that I've seen a lot of is the use of stone for stone bridges, box culverts. And you stop and think they used things that were readily available. They had a problem of being able to travel, and it was remarkable the bridges that they created, and some of the barns and foundations and other things that you find out there are really remarkable of what they were able to accomplish with stone. The other thing that is really nice, and I know there's some of you who probably say, oh, those darn beavers. But to have a dam that you can actually walk right up to, and this is a very massive dam that's right above that stone bridge on Walker Road, so it's not hard to get to. And Walker Road, it's about a mile up the road to Bigelow Brook, is an easy walk, no bushwhacking required. The dam is interesting, but the fact that way at the other end of the pond, and you'll see this in a moment, is where the path crossed. And it required some really unique ways of organizing and deciding the route of a path. We're going to jump ahead just a bit to Bigelow Brook. And no way is this a brook. It used to be a river, and I don't know who, somewhere in Hartford, they must have said, we'll change it to brook. It really is a river. And there's a story here, is if you go up Walker Road and down the hill to Bigelow Brook, there's an old bridge abutment there. And longtime resident Charles Chisholm met with Harold Ayres back in the 30s, and he described to him when he and his brother walked to school. And they lived up the road, up in what's now Ashford, up off of Axe Factory at Pine Hill. They walked down this road, across the Bigelow Brook on the bridge, and up the hill to the school, which you'll see in a minute. And he said, when they walked to school, and this would have been in about 1870, 1875, on Bigelow Brook, there were these stones, this big. And that stone is like this. I gotta do it this way, so you can see that in the back, audio-visual. That were placed in the brook across as stepping stones. And the oral tradition handed down, since their family had been there since the early 1800s, was that this was along the line of the old Connecticut path. Now, Ayres went down, he walked it with Charles Chisholm. Chisholm passed away after the hurricane in 1938. Chisholm went back with Maurice Bicknell, who lived up on Westford Hill after the 38 hurricane. There was such a massive flood down Bigelow Brook that it tumbled some of the stones out of there. So if you go up today, there's one remaining, but take that stone and place a couple more across there, and you can see, as difficult as Bigelow Brook or river is to cross, it would have been far easier with those stones. And placement of those stones, you'd say, that would take a lot of effort. And if there was a bridge there, why on earth would you do it? And going back in the Ashford records, it looks as though the road was there going back to the time of their settlement, or shortly after. So we're talking about something that likely predated the bridges, which would have predated the settlement. Going back up the hill, coming your way, back across Eastford, I came across a picture and share it with you. This is identified as the school that they went to back in the 1800s on Walker Road. And it's not there now.
The building exists.
The building exists, and you'll see it in a moment. Yeah, you're ahead of me. I'll give you the clicker. The school was there as a one-room schoolhouse, and this is part of, at that time it started out as being Ashford School going back, and I found it went back to the 1700s. The folks who took it afterwards probably said, yeah, it went back to the 1700s, and they never did anything with it after that. But the building was removed sometime in the 1930s. I haven't been able to pick out the time or date. But if you go there today, there's a lot that Eastford still owns. And you'll see the entry stone leading into the school. And Chisholm also described just up the road was the shippy place. And I understand there were shippies here in town. There may be still some here. And their farmhouse and the foundation is there along with the barns, the foundations for the barns. And he described the route of the path running between the school and the shipping place. So if you go up Walker Road, you find the school, you walk up a little ways to the shipping place, the foundations, and explore. The path leads in between the ponds. The beaver dam that I showed you at the beginning is right down here. There's another pond above. And right through here, it is possible to travel now. I don't recommend it. God's scourge is barberry. And barberry is growing pretty thick across there now. So you can walk across, it's pretty wild. But it was a line of travel between the ponds. And it was rather ingenious because the path in many places had to skirt around these beaver ponds. And you'll find that go right below the beaver dams, and maybe put in a cord road, some logs down, and then walk across. And later they'd put down some stone to make it a little firmer for walking. And from there it crosses over the hill and comes down to Cozy Road, and what he described as the Highland Place, and crosses down to Branch Brook. And I was able to find where I think about where a crossing would be in line with the description of the path. and coming uphill, I don't know if there's any of the Buells. We've got Buell cider. Oh, okay, good. I didn't go through your yard, I promise.
I live in Wellington now. So it's
Okay, well, I didn't go in your yard there either. That it came right across Buell Brook and pretty much up. You get suspicious when you see dead-end roads. There's Buell Drive up there. I suspect that was a stem of the path in the road. And there's Buell Brook today, with another beaver dam that it walks below. And you said, yes, there's a school. They picked it up and they moved it over to Ashford Road. Probably somewhere in the 1930s. It was probably a very good deal as far as the cost, but I'm sure they had to redo everything inside to make it habitable.
No, they used it as a school for the Buell family.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's why it was moved there.
Oh, okay. Another piece of my information then. All right. And now it's a home. It was probably needed a lot of work when they moved it there. Which raises some interesting questions on how they pick it up and move it, given the distance in the roads. And the last little bit from Buell Road and Ashford Road across the orchard and on down to Crystal Pond and Camp NAHACO. I wasn't able to walk a good bit of this because, again, I don't want to walk by people's windows and wave to them. I did hear, I don't know if Dan is here. Oh, okay. Nice to meet you, Dan. Dan sent me a message. He says, I think the path goes right up my driveway. My dad told me all those years this was the path. I didn't believe him. I know. Our parents seem a lot smarter as we get older. It's hard to know how that happened. To Crystal Pond, which, as I said, is likely as shown as one of the gathering places of the natives along the path, and would have been likely, if not a stopping point, a trading point along the path. For more information, visit the Old Connecticut Path website